Oh, welcome back, everybody, to the Dusty Bender podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chance Watson. With you, as always, Taylor Wells and Bobby Ryan coming back for the show. Round 2 picks coming at you, folks. Bit of a crazy round 1 that we've had. All of the gambling favorites moving on to the next round. We'll give some post-mortems on those. But first up, folks, we got to shout out the Hub Tavern out in Spokane, Washington. Hub Tavern is the hockey bar in Spokane, Washington, part of the Anchor Alliance. That means they're officially affiliated with the Seattle Kraken. That's a mouthful. Also down the road, going to Monterey Cafe, best place to grab a slice of pizza and sing your little heart out. Some of the greatest karaoke that you can get there. Jeff is a great guy, despite him being a Penguins fan. Just kidding, Jeff. We love you. And also John Miller, Fire Chief John Miller, saving our lives out there, fighting the fires. Such a good guy, longtime listener, longtime supporter of the show, and we'll talk about his poor Preds here in just a little bit.
Yeah, I think Johnny is gonna have his work cut out for him this summer. We're gonna hit 80 already over here. So I don't know about you boys. Holy shit!
Yeah, it's beyond hot here. So hot and humid, right? And then we had tornado watch in mornings all day. It just touchdown just south of us. So dodged another one.
I was gonna say, have you seen those videos going around right now? There's just twisters kicking up all over the place in the Midwest.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Now the Southeast as well.
Yuck.
Crazier than the Toronto Maple Leafs press conferences after the series.
I gotta be honest. I didn't pay a ton of attention because I had them losing. Right, I think I won that one.
Yeah.
And I didn't even care too much. Those guys got trounced enough in the media during the series. I was like, yeah, I know like Morgan Riley had a tough one where he got a little emotional, but they all know something big's coming, right? There's going to be changeover. Just no matter who it is, I guess. I think it's fairly obvious who it's going to be for me on the offensive side, but yeah.
We'll get. In fact, that can probably be our first one we talk about. But real quick, we should touch on it. The draft lottery just happened. The timing of the draft lottery is always strange to me. Like it's like nestled between the first and second round and just kind of random. I'm sure Gary Bettman has his reasons. The dude is, money above all, basically. That might as well be the motto of the NHL. But it just, the date is always kind of weird. It always seems like it sneaks up on me. And then it's always at a weird time too. Kind of went down. In fact, it went perfectly, like right as like the odds were. So San Jose, Chicago, I believe it was the Duckies after that, Columbus, so on and so forth. No surprises on it. How do we feel about Celebrini going to San Jose?
Well,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and I think we were talking about it in the group chat a little bit, but I hope they play 78 good games a year. Totally okay with him and Will Smith having a good career, except when they play the Ducks. So, yeah, I mean, good for them. I think, that's going to be a pretty nasty little center duo. But, yeah, just the reports on the kid, having watched some of those Boston games. The kid's going to be sick. I think, they kind of put out, I don't remember who it was, someone put out like a top 10 first overall draft picks of the last 10 years, and they have him, towards the top. I think he's 4 or 5. So,
okay.
Looking forward to it.
Bobby, is this okay? So obviously the Sharks are still gonna be bad next year. You can't just get one guy and then be good. But is this the stop where they start digging up, or they can't be any worse, right?
No, you can't get worse. And you're adding 2 very high-end players and him and the other guy out of the same school. So they're going to get better. Some of the young guys had a really tough year, right? Getting thrown right into the fire with some of the prospects there. That got exposed and put up some bad numbers and the plus minus, whatever it is. But that's a year of experience that they can draw from next year. So they will be better. They're still going to be horrendous, let's be honest. But they'll climb up. It was kind of like Bedard. Like he made them instantly better this year. Not a playoff team by any means, but more and more people be watching San Jose now.
You think he plays? You think he's got to play, right?
Yeah, I think he's too good to go back to college. I'd be very surprised. I guess he can go to the A though too, right? Because he was a college player.
Yeah, that's a good.
I think
you're
that's
right.
The rule. Like usually,
the Sharks A, the Barracuda.
Not juniors.
So he'll be. Yeah, he can't unless they send him somewhere. No, I think he plays. I think he's too good. He's small. Obviously, I saw him play a bunch, and he's small, but he just finds ways. And that's the game's trending that way. He's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I think he plays.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Do we go down? So like kind of looking at draft models and whatnot right now, does everything go, you think, the way it goes? I think some of them, the one I'm looking at right now has got some guy named Levshanov.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, you're
Okay.
asking the wrong guy.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, we can dive into those prospects at a later date.
I guess maybe anybody else on your radar before we move on?
Demidov, Demidov from Russia is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. It's the Matvey Michkov of last year, right?
Okay.
You can put him almost in the same category as Celebrini. I think they're very close in skill, but it's just the Russia. You just don't know what's going to happen, right? Like, you don't know. It sounds like he only has 1 year on his contract, whereas Michkov had just signed a 3-year, right? So a little bit different, so that we could see him go as high as he probably should. But and then realistically, in my opinion, after those two guys, it's a crapshoot for probably the next 8 picks. Like, I think there's a good top 10. So
not as strong as draft as it has been in the past.
It's just not super deep.
Yeah. A couple high-end guys, and then it really drops off from what I remember reading. But I'll tell you what, my Panthers just made it 3-1 with 0.3 seconds left. That just changes the entire complexion of the third period. I love that.
Yep.
We got some scuffles going on now.
Yep.
Nothing coming of it, but that's a big goal.
Yeah. 0.3. That's are we at a point where that's a dagger, or is that, you think?
No, Boston's certainly capable of scoring too, but at the same time, like 2-1, 3-1 when you're going in between periods is a much different outlook for you. So, one shot ties it versus now we got to get momentum and keep momentum for 20 minutes most of the time if you want to get 2.
Right. So. Yeah, I'm and definitely I think you're right 100%, right? Like, having lost the first game 5-1, and they're just talking second round, right? But having lost the first one 5-1, getting up that 3-1 going into the third, you gotta feel pretty good. So
yeah, you can't go down 0-2 and go on the road and win unless you're Dallas.
That's right.
That was a hell of a series.
Yeah, looks like we've lost chance. So let's go ahead and we'll jump into the first rounds. The first rounds here. You want to start on the East, or you want to start on the West? How are you feeling today?
Let's do the East.
All right, let's jump over to the East. Florida, Tampa. I believe even with that extra game, I think this was the first series that was wrapped up. Maybe it was New York, Washington, but Florida, Tampa. Florida 4-1 over Tampa. Definitely a series that I think people kind of had going to 7, or at least being more of a series than 5 games. What's your thoughts on this?
I watched a lot of that series. I love Florida. I just think they're so deep. And they were able to roll over that team. And some of those guys, let's face it, some of those guys in Tampa are just older, and they've played a lot of hockey, and it's hard to replicate that much winning for so long. But now they got some questions to answer in Tampa over the course of the summer. But at the same time, Florida outplayed them just about every game except the one they lost. That was the only one I thought they did not outplay them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think even in that one game, right, it was kind of all Tampa in the first. I think they went up 3-rip. Yeah, and then Florida battled back before kind of running out of steam. But I'm with you. I think they're just the better team, right? I think the tides have shifted from, like you're saying, we have a little bit of an older group there in Tampa. And do you feel like, for me, it was kind of, and I think Coop did bring it up or talked about it, but just kind of being tired from so many pushes in a row. Yeah. Realistically, like, really having to battle at the beginning of the year without Vasilevsky in there. I mean, do you think that played a big role into it, or are they just washed?
Absolutely. They're not washed by any means. They got a ton of winners in the room, but yeah, they just look tired to me. They just look like they've played so much hockey the last 5 years.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay. Well, I don't know what happened to Chance.
No worries.
We'll just keep
pushing on. Yeah, absolutely.
Figure it out.
We can skip the Ranger series, I guess.
Yeah, we'll pass over that. We'll let him keep thinking about that one. But let's jump over to the other one before we kind of get into obviously the best series of that East side. Carolina and the Islanders. Just what are your thoughts on that series? And I know, Carolina, you and I differed a little bit on Carolina, but how do you feel about both those teams?
So I thought after game 1 it was going to be a 4-game series the way Carolina dominated early, and then what really broke New York's back was blowing that lead in game 2 for me, and going down and like you walk out of Carolina in a split series 1-1, you're thinking you got a chance. Was not the case, obviously. I just think that the way that they play versus the way that the Islanders play, which is kind of right outside of Barzell, they're a playoff built team, but they're just really north and south, and Carolina was able to expose them going east and west a lot, changing positions and shooting angles, and then they just swarm. The way they swarm just absolutely overwhelmed them. So wasn't a surprise for me in that series. It was just after game 1, I thought it was going to be 4 to get to as far as they got. Was it 5?
Yeah, I went to 5.
Yeah, so yeah, and like they still won at home, obviously, but yeah, no surprises.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think my biggest surprise, we talked about it a little bit on the last show we had you on, but just chatting about, what is Sorokin going to look like, right? Is Sorokin going to be able to steal some of these games? Are they going to go with Varlamov? And we kind of saw that from the start, right? I think they started with Varlamov in net, and then tried. I think it was game 3. They just tried to throw something at Carolina and say, hey, let's throw. Varlamov, it's not like he's played terrible. Carolina's just a better team, but let's try Sorokin, see if we can steal one, and just more of the same. So
that picture of Sorokin sitting on like a tiny little bench in the tunnel, just like sad.
Yeah.
Like that will forever haunt him and probably Islanders fans for a while.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of that sadness is just a carryover from the season that he had too, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
Playing,
he just didn't have a good year.
He didn't play very good almost all year. I think he started okay and then, figured it out for a bit and then just fell off the deep end.
And kudos to Varlamov. Like he didn't play bad.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my opinion, he didn't.
They just the way that they play is overwhelming for a goalie. They throw pucks from everywhere and they arrive on time for rebounds.
Yep,
yeah,
I get that.
I don't know if there was much Patty could have done with that team, and I think it'll be interesting.
I think he got as much as he could out of it. Honestly, if it was anybody else, they'd probably A, wouldn't have made the playoffs, and B, swept. So
very true. I agree.
No, and with Patty Waugh, it seems like, because I know that he's coming in from WHL success. Sorry, by the way, my computer just had a shit fit.
So he's Q, right?
What's that?
He's Q. Didn't he coach in the Q?
Yeah, I think, but he's got a Memorial Cup under his belt now, I think. Yeah. With that, I mean, that's a proven track record there. It shows that he can talk. He knows how to work with the younger group. Maybe something that he didn't necessarily have before. He has learned it. He's got it together. I think there's good things with the Islanders. As much as the positives you get with Lou Lamoriello, there's also negatives as well. I know for a fact that the younger generation is just not going to be happy being told what to do with their facial hair and whatnot. But I understand that it's a small gripe. Sure. But it just shows a generational divide. But I think Patty Waugh might finally know how to talk to the younger generation now and go from there. Not like Babcock, who takes people's phones.
Yeah, I mean, this is always the question that comes up from first round losers, right? Is this a team that says, "Hey, shit, we got a new coach. We look good at the end. Ran into a good team, and let's go ahead and try to build on this"? Or is this a team that says, "We got some guys. Anders Lee is definitely over that peak. Not to point guys out, but right there's kind of some of those. Is it a refresh?
Taylor, you're the prospect guy. Do the Islanders have anybody in the wings?
I mean, they've been because of the Trotz days, because of the last few seasons and things like that. They've kind of been picking in the middle of the pack, right? Mm-hmm. So, not saying Dallas has shown us that you can pick in the middle of the pack and find some good players out of there, but more often than not, right? You're going to have, especially in the times of analytics, right?
Sure.
So yeah.
Bobby, what do you think they do? What should they do versus what will they do?
Right.
I think there's a few players they should move on from, but I don't think they will. They're a team that just stands pat, knowing that they can make the playoffs and win around. But they don't seem like they want to take the next step to me. They seem like a team that always is content.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Did you guys just cover Carolina Islanders?
And we went through Florida and Tampa too. We skipped over the Rangers series. Rangers were
Why would you talk about that?
Well,
There's no reason for that.
Yeah.
Even Ovi's just like, yeah, I'm old and I played really bad, and that
Well,
was and that was it. And everybody's
Well
like, yeah,
said.
that's pretty much right.
Except Tom Wilson said they were in every game, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know about that.
I kind of wish, we talked about it a little bit before in the last episode. I'll add to the Florida series. I do wish that it ended differently, because there's always going to be like it sucks. Like the two waved off goals for Tampa, like that's obviously going to be something that is, I wouldn't say an asterisk, but it's always going to be there of like, all right, that with those two, it could have changed things. I understand that there's definitely a technical argument for them both being goalie interference. Bobby, what was your thought on that? Do you agree with those calls?
Yeah, to a degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. But other than that, Florida's a better team. Florida was the best one. Tampa's, they're trains passing in the night, right? Like Florida's always been this way, and then now they were about there last year, and now it's about here. And unfortunately, I just think Tampa's only going to get worse. I don't mean that it's going to be a rapid drop off,
right? But yeah, no, you kind of echoed exactly what we said. To be honest,
okay, perfect.
The same.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it was pretty bang on.
Perfect. All right, so Leafs and the Bruins. Feels like we've talked about this. At least I've talked about it multiple times in my life. It's like an inevitability, like phases of the moon, that these two teams are going to meet in the playoffs. And I think it was Down Goes Brown said it perfectly after like they were down 3-1 in the series. He's like, the leafiest outcome possible is that they'll storm back to a game 7 and then lose this, because that's what they do. And that's exactly what they did.
Yep.
How many years? Because there was an overreaction first. Like everybody's like, fire this whole team into the fucking sun. Like everybody needs to go. Like and Toronto fans are just militant, man. Like it's just nuts. The pressure is there. And then now there's kind of an overcorrection. Mitch Marner saying that they're seen as gods in Toronto. I think people are taking it a little out of context. Like he means it kind of like in a good way, like people look up to them, but the point is already there. And then players putting out mixed messages in the post-mortems, like Keefe saying, yeah, there's no problem with our effort. And then Riley going, yeah, it's our effort. Like, I just, you were talking about it before you kind of led into it, but Bobby, I'll kick it over to you. Like, do you run it back again and just hope for another result? No. Okay.
No,
all right.
No, I'm making major changes, and it starts up top, and it makes it. I'm making major changes to that team.
All right. Who's gone?
Marner's an absolute for me.
Okay.
I think everybody would agree with me. Tavares, I don't think you're going to get off of the contract. I think you just pay him out for he got 1 year left, I think, right? So he's on his way out as it is.
If you pay him his bonus, I think that makes him a little more attractive for a trade. But
I think somebody would take him, and you work some cap circumvention and throw a pick in or whatever it might be. But I wouldn't necessarily get rid of him. I think he brings an element to the team that they need at times with the down low play. But
it's too much money for what he's providing.
Exactly. Right. And like for me, it's you keep Nylander, you keep Matthews, you keep Riley, and you just start looking everywhere and anywhere to make other changes to fill some gaps. But that group cannot stay together after doing it again. Can't.
I think I've seen on Twitter the talk that like Toronto fans are trying to will into existence is like a Keller for Marner. And I'm sitting here going like, why would Utah do that? Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Why? Why would they do that?
Nope.
And to piss people off, it's like, but Keller's a better hockey player. Like, why would you do that? I understand the comparison, but like, I mean, Keller, he's had one kick at the can in the playoffs. Other than that, like, you can't blame the guy for not. I mean, he's been surrounded by basically, I don't want to say plugs, but basically plug and play guys. So where we just need to fill the roster, and he's been surrounded by that. Taylor, is it a situation? So like, we'll obviously talk about Boston here in a second moving forward, but do you see in any, like, how about Sheldon Keefe? Give me your thoughts on, does he have his job next year?
I mean, it's tough, right? Kind of what Bobby was alluding to, right? They're very top heavy on the front end, and their team really isn't built to win right now, right? You're basically saying throw in essentially two rookie goaltenders, right? Two really young goaltenders, and Morgan Riley and a hodgepodge of other essentially 5-6 defensemen behind him, right? So that's not really a recipe for success a lot of the time. So I don't think he's had the best hand of cards, but at the same time, you got to find something to do, right? You got to figure out something to at least put up a little bit of, at least a little bit more of a push. And I think we saw it a little bit in games 5 and 6, right? They can kind of play sometimes that shutdown defense, but how much of that is the players just not wanting to go home yet, right? So,
Sure.
to me, I think with some of the names that are on the market right now for coaches, I know Paul brought up Berube, talking to him on the broadcast and stuff. I don't know, with the way that the roster is crafted right now, I don't know if a new coach is really going to even do anything. So.
I was gonna say, Bobby, you've been in that position, so to speak. Like, can you keep the roster the same, bring in a new coach, and hope for a new result?
No. They need somebody also to stimulate them, because he clearly doesn't do it. They find a way to quit in every game for 10 to 15 minutes. They take too many nights off around the season. And a lot of 5 and 6 in the series were them just not wanting to go home. So
yeah,
that's playing for pride, and it worked for 2 games. But at the same time, it's just no. I'm changing. If I'm calling the shots there, I'm walking in and I'm changing almost everything.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I mean, you've got your foundation of Matthews, you've got your foundation of Nylander. I mean, is Riley sticking around?
I think so. The way he plays the point, yeah, I think so. I keep him.
I
think those are the only 3 guys.
Wall, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't even. I mean, the only 3 guys I have coming back, if I'm there, are Matthews, Nylander, and Riley, and then everybody else is either up for grabs, or there's some young guys that could work their way that had nice enough seasons for them that obviously they're counting on to make jumps. Matthew Nyes and whatever. Sure. But no, I'm changing everything, and I got 3 guys coming back for sure, and that's it.
Okay, all right. Bertuzzi, was not bad, just not kind of ineffective. Domi somehow has solidified himself as a Leafs guy, like he wants to come back, and it sounds like the fan base likes him for some reason. He's a likable dude. He's shit disturber, but he had 9 goals all season, so it's not like he's going to contribute any secondary offense really.
Exactly.
I sit here and I agree with you. I agree with you. Like, this team it's one of those things of like, are there always excuses? Or not even excuses. Like, there's reasons, like, oh, there was injuries, and Nylander missed 2 games because he had a headache, and Matthews is hurt, and like, yes. And if you had the benefit of the doubt, those are all decent excuses. But you've done this every year,
right?
Yeah. Like, there's always some reason. Like, at a point, you've got to be able to rise above that, and they just can't do it. So I think I'm with you. I don't know. I'd like to think that even Shanahan's gone, but we'll see.
Yeah, there's at this point, with this much, non-playoff success, right? It's time. I think, I think your guys are spot on. You got to just figure out, clean it down. So, and to your point, Bobby, I loved seeing the passion out of Austin Matthews and Nylander on the bench, right? There was that one clip that kind of came through. Marner throws his gloves, right? And I think it was just one of those moments where it was like, those 2 are probably the ones that we need to, just from even a character standpoint, be looking at, holding on to it, and everyone else.
I think level-headed people who know the game, like, saw that and didn't necessarily like, you can see the frustration and you acknowledge that, but like, Leafs fans wanted to take that clip and be like, I'm going to post this, like, I'm going to paint a mural of this on the building outside to just let Marner know that I don't want him here anymore, kind of thing. Like, that was used as like a rally cry of like, he's a little whiny bitch. And it's like, okay, but this stuff happens. Like, these guys, it's
but he is.
Moment. It's hockey.
but he is.
But he is.
He is. So
yeah, what is it? Nylander told him to this isn't junior.
Not junior. He's one of those guys. Ugh. You got no time
Yeah.
for him.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But
Pretty good though. Pretty good player, but like,
yeah, sure.
Right.
No, skill wise, yeah, but
Yeah.
there's a difference if they're good in the locker room too. I mean, it's
Yeah, they're in a tricky
I don't
spot
know
with
about.
him.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see.
Just because, I mean, right, he's got a no move or no trade or something, right? So, he's going to have to waive that for them to make anything. And a lot of teams are going to look at the playoff, his pedigree and kind of, exactly what we're talking about right there with attitude. So, it
Smart
might be
thing
hard
would
for
be,
them to move him.
I think he's in his last year. I think maybe you hold on to it. Like if you can't find anything that makes sense over the summer, you hold on to him till the deadline, and then depending on what position you're in as the Leafs, you flip him for a goalie or you flip him for another 1D or something like that, to help whatever you need at that time. But who knows? I mean, maybe they completely fall apart and they don't even make the playoffs next year.
Yeah, let's flip to the other side because
do it.
the Leafs are golfing, dude. I don't
They
give
are.
a shit about that
Let's
team
stop
anymore.
talking about teams that are
move.
gone.
Yeah, that's right.
You guys only got me for another half hour. So.
Perfect.
That's right. We gotta go.
Let's because I do want to talk a little Dallas. You guys got this Dallas one, damn near coin flip, hell of a series I thought. Dallas Vegas. What'd you guys think of? Bobby? What's your analysis on the post-mortem of the Knights here?
Well, they're going to lose some players because of the cap situation for sure.
Yeah.
I just think guys like Stoner missed too much time. Jack Eichel was great though. Marchessault was okay. I just think Dallas, they were the team. Like I love them. I think they have a little destiny in them this year. I know that they're down one right now, but it's almost like they got to get scared into believing. So I still love the way they are built. I still 4-1 Florida, so that game's over.
Okay.
But when you look at the way they're built, they're going to find ways to be in every game. For Vegas, some minor changes, but I don't know. Nothing drastically is going to change. All your high-end guys are going to be back for the most part. You have to ask Marchessault to take a pay cut because of the cap. I don't know if he wants to. He's got to cash in. So they got an interesting summer ahead of them, but I think they just got beat by the better team. I really do.
Well, and at that point, it's neck and neck. Like it's anytime you go to a game 7, you know that this is more often than not. I would say sometimes bad teams can push to game 7, but more often than not, it's a coin toss. Like it's a good series, and that could have easily gone the other way. I felt that. I think you're right. Dallas was the better team. Taylor, do you see anything with the Golden Knights that stood out to you?
They got up 2-rip and Dallas just fought back, right?
Yeah.
I think we put a lot of, and I'm sure Vegas fans are putting a lot of this happened and this happened negative towards their own team, but even as a Knights hater, right? Like they played a damn good series and they realistically they got goalied in the end of it, right? Even their 2-0 loss that Dallas had, game 6 against the Knights. Otter stood on his fucking head. So it's just,
he's been known to do that.
Yeah.
He's been known to do that.
He had to, those first 2 games were just kind of getting the rust off. And then it was like, oh shit, I can play goalie. Right. So,
sure.
It's just that was my favorite series. So,
it was very interesting. So let's move over to an ass kicking though. Colorado and Winnipeg. What boys? We all fucked up on this one, huh?
Crazy. How about Hellebuyck having the most saves and the most goals against, like
Jesus
in a series? And then when they lost the first game, I was like, they hung 6 or 5 on Hellebuyck and still lost. I was like, oh man, we made a great prediction, but they went to a level, and you could tell that they had guys that have won. But they went to a level that the guys in Winnipeg just could not handle. Could not handle. It was a great series to watch. I hate my pick now, but it was a really good series to watch.
Yeah, same.
I do too. I look at it's the criticisms. Winnipeg's almost like that Carolina pick that you were talking about, Bobby, a couple episodes ago, where it's like I think I brainwashed myself into thinking that like, it's just an average defense, but they've got Hellebuyck to balance that out. But then I start looking at it and I'm like, man, that's a below average defense. Like their best defenseman is Morrissey.
Yeah.
And on like a Stanley Cup competing team, he's like I think we said in the last episode, like a Vince Dunn type. And no offense to Vince Dunn, love Vince Dunn, but but he's a solid defenseman, but he's not, that solid solidifying 1D that can quarterback a power play or something. And in this particular case, like when your strongest defenseman is Morrissey, you're gonna have some issues. And more often than they just left hella. There was some he just couldn't do anything about. You expect miracle saves from the guy, but man, oh man, they just hung him out to dry.
Took the words right out of my mouth. They hung him out to dry. When they started the 5-man cycle and activating D, Winnipeg was just lost in their own zone for times. It was so Colorado, man. Like, I don't know, they look like a wagon. Like, and I discredit it in Nichushkin, not because I don't think he's a great player. Like, I really actually love the player, but I didn't think he was. I mean, he had his fingerprints in every single game that series. Yeah. He just, even if he's not scoring, which he did a lot of, the way he just commands the puck and like takes ice away from guys, he's unbelievable. So I underrated them heavily.
Yeah. Well, and I think rightfully so for a lot of, at least the way that I looked at them was they got bounced in the first round last year, right?
Yeah.
Is this team for real, or is this, and I think I loved some of their additions, and just kind of overthought the Hellebuck versus Gorgiev conversation. Kind of just,
well, it's not like Gorgiev played amazing.
Like, he's trying to figure it out, but yeah.
I don't. In fact, I did learn through hockey Twitter that Avs fans, when he does not do well, they call him Forgiev.
Mm-hmm.
You know what he did? He found a way not to lose them games.
Yes, that's correct.
All he really had to do.
Yeah, he had to be a C+, B- goalie, and he did that. He did that. So we'll see if that carries over. Okay, last couple post-mortems. Nashville. I don't. They were happy to be there. It's like good for them. They definitely dropped the ball on a couple things. You thought maybe Vancouver losing their starting and backup goalies might have been a nice little way to get into the series. And they just couldn't do. God, those were. I think we were all talking about what was going to be the most boring series, and I think we all said Carolina, New York. This was the most boring series. Oh my God.
Yeah, I barely watched it.
It was like watching paint dry.
Yeah, it was
fucking slog.
And I'll say this to Nashville's credit, because I had to turn 2 games off, but they played. I was like, this sucks. But they played playoff hockey for the past 2.5 months, and I think once they got in, they had this exhale, and it cost them because they were like, man, we did it. We were not supposed to do it. A lot of teams had them way out of the playoff race to start the season, and when they did it, and they kind of did what they do every year, they get to the first round, they take an exhale, and they lose, and they draft 16th again. Like,
sure.
It's just the way it goes. So I think they were just exhausted too. They looked exhausted, actually. Like, they looked tired.
Man, Taylor, if you're Colton Sissons, how are you feeling right now?
That's what I was going to bring up. I think that was game 3, right? Where it's just that's the tie.
You got to ice that game.
You got to ice that game. It's 1-1. If you're going to have any shot, you got to put that game away. And he's getting his frustrations out on a tiny little white dimpled ball on the golf course. So Vancouver, and good on Vancouver. I mean, they battled through some adversity, right? You can't lose. Yep. For one, what a lot of people consider a top 5 tendy in the league, especially this season, right? Up for the Vezina and whatnot. And, there's not a lot of teams. I think they got a very nice draw in the first round for that to happen, right?
Yeah.
So that definitely helps. But the defense there is actually a little better than I thought, right? So I think, I like what Hronek brings. Quinn Hughes can be a world beater on any given, power play, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do tonight against Vancouver or against Edmonton, but yeah, I mean, you got to win those series too, right? So
yeah, and on the Preds, to kind of put a bow on that, like, it's Barry Trotz. Like, I mean, if there's anybody that could maybe because anybody else, this team would be like mired in being just aggressive. Like, they're the next Minnesota Wild, Sure. They're not going to be bad. They're just not going to be elite. I don't know. We'll see if Trotz can, or Trotz, Trotz. We'll just see if he can turn it around.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. And then Edmonton, LA, real fast. I Actually,
Yep.
I don't have much on this. Kings are.
No.
I never believed in the Kings.
They're happy
If,
to be there as well. Same
yeah,
as Nashville. They
yeah,
got there.
yeah.
Yeah.
If
And
you're
then they lost to the better team too.
Yeah. If you're starting goalie's Cam Talbot and you're putting all your hopes in Pierre-Luc Dubois, you're gonna have a bad time.
You're in one.
That's the only thing about this series that was a big takeaway from me. What the? There was an account on X that was basically like tracking his ice time and shots and shit, and it was fucking hilarious. Like, just out for a skate for 16 minutes and 23 seconds tonight. Like, it's just fucking crazy, dude.
That's tough. Poor guy.
Yeah, that's hard, man. That's hard.
And it seemed like he's self-aware. He came out in press conferences saying like, "Hey, I got to be better." But you can say that as many times as you want.
Yeah.
Sometimes you struggle though, man. Sometimes you can't get it going, but
We'll see.
Yeah, it hurts.
We'll see. All right, jump into as Bobby was saying, teams that are actually still playing hockey. Let's go over to Florida, Boston. As Bobby said, right now it's what, 4-1?
4-1 with 12 minutes left.
All right,
Damn.
so anything could happen. It's the playoffs, but sounds like Florida's got this one. Let's work under the assumption that this is tied at 1, going back to was it Sunrise they play in?
Mm-hmm.
No, going back to Boston.
Oh, going back to Boston. That's
yeah,
right.
it's in Sunrise.
That's right. Going back to Boston. Bobby, how do you feel about the series so far? And our early picks, I think you had Florida in 6.
I have Florida in 6, and I think it might be I think it might be a 7-game series with the home team kind of winning. I think they'll go up there and split. If you think about it, like I had said in 6, meaning, they would win all their home games and essentially lose one on the road. Or give or take maybe 2 on the road, but I think it's going to be a 7-game series. I still think Florida's the better, like right now they're absolutely manhandling them. They just pulled Swayman. And they're getting more rushes now, if you can believe it. So I still like my pick. I'm going to say 7 though. And, they're just too deep. I love the decor in Boston. I love the goaltending situation there, but they're not as offensively proficient as they have been, in the past. And I think that's going to bite them when Florida's just going to roll 4 lines at you hard, right? And the Maroon line and whoever he's with is they play very sparingly. They don't match up with Florida's 4th line, who can roll. It's just they're going to have to rely on special teams, and then I don't want to put Florida on the power play ever either. So to me, they're just a better team. They're the more dangerous team on the ice any given night. So I'm still, you know what? I'm not even going to say 7. Hell with it. They're going to go in. They're going to go win 2 on the road, come back 3-1. Yep. I'm going to say in 6.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Final answer.
Yep.
Looking at, to your credit, or to your point here, the depth. Looking at just the goals tonight, Lorentz, Barkov's going to score. Gustav Forsling and I can never say
Luosterainen.
Yeah, Luosterainen.
Yeah,
there you go. So there you go. There's your secondary scoring coming out and putting up in a big way, because the only goal that they got in the last game was from your star. So
yep.
That makes sense. Taylor, who's standing out to you in this series? Give me a pick from both teams.
Well, I think just to touch on it real quick, I think we saw it very similarly in the Dallas, Colorado, which we'll get to. Is Florida, having that extra time off, just came out a little flat in the first game, right?
Yes.
So I think they're clearly still the deepest team. They're still, in my opinion, just a better team than Boston. So I like that. I like that 6 game. And we saw tonight, they just said, okay, we're back playing playoff hockey, right? We kind of sat on our couches for a little bit too long, but that's it. So I like the 6. To me, it was Swayman in game 1, right? Swayman just continued to do it, and that's an easy pick for
He has been playing very well.
He's been playing very, very well. Even when they were coming back in those, in that Toronto series, he still only was letting in 1 or 2 goals, right? So, very, very good on that side of things. And then, like you said, right, you got to have the goals from the big line in Florida, right? You can get that depth scoring, but you got to have it from the big lines too. I thought it was, there was definitely a video tonight that I saw Tkachuk getting smoked by Marchand, and it's just coming back at it, right? It's just getting up and going back into it. So he's going to have a big series just because he's going to be matched up against Marchand. But I think the younger, faster players should probably make a difference there. So I think he'll definitely on the Florida side. He's my game breaker. So we'll see what happens.
It definitely feels like strength versus skill in this. Like when you watch Florida break out, I mean, whether it was the last series or this one, like it's art. Like they move out of their zone very well. They enter the zone very well. Once they get in, they set up, plays and whatnot. It's all very fluid and it looks very like it's art almost. Whereas Boston kind of it's rush and it moves in and they're gonna hit you hard kind of thing. It feels like. I think that works with Toronto because they bend and break pretty easily. I don't know if that's going to work with Florida.
No.
I think Bobby's right on that. With you just got too much depth.
Yep.
Cool. Taylor, what was your pick on that one?
I copied Bobby again. I just figure, he had such a good run on the first round, so I'd copy him. I like Florida on 6.
Yep.
I think they split in Boston, and then Florida just says, you know what, fuck it, we're putting this away. So.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that 6.
I like that. All right. Again, hindsight's 2020. We do all of our picks beforehand before we got into this, but Rangers Carolina. Rangers up 2-0 in this series. First was kind of an ass kicking, and the second one was I mean, hair tight, but
Great game. Yeah.
Rangers get it. Yeah. Bobby, if you're on the Carolina Hurricanes right now, are you worried?
No, I think they're content with the way they played last game. I think they were in it, and obviously they were in it. They lost a double overtime, but at the same time, they had a great response to the first game. I thought the pace of play was really good. I actually thought they outplayed the Rangers in big parts of the game, and they did that on the road. Now they're going home where they're extremely comfortable. I think they take the 2 at home. And then it becomes a best of 3, and you got to steal one on the road, which they haven't done well in years. If I saw the stat the other night, they've not been good on the road in the playoffs in years. So they're going to have to find a way to steal one. But I'm sticking with my 7 series, Canes in 7. I haven't been big on the Rangers, but I'm kind of changing my attitude towards them and wishing I hadn't. But I still think the Canes are going to find a way to get it done.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I like that.
And they just got to keep the puck. They got to stay out of the box. They take a lot of stupid penalties. They killed 2 of their own power plays by taking penalties within 2 seconds of the puck drop. And those are such chintzy calls. Like, unless it's really blatantly obvious, I hate when that gets called all the way around. So all that being said, they stay out of the box. They continue to put the puck on net. Just wear Shesterkin down as much as you can and hope to be in 2-1 and 3-2 games.
One day in a summer episode, I'd like to go down the rabbit hole of talking about embellishment calls, because it seems like ownerships, like it's kind of floated out there right now. They were even talking about it on Sportsnet that like the GMs are kind of talking like the embellishments and whatnot and how they feel about that and how it should be called more or something like that.
Yeah. I'm
curious to kind of know about that, because it does seem like it's a deeper topic, but it does seem like we're kind of going towards soccer a little bit, in the sense that, I'm going to sell this dive or I'm going to sell this hit to get the call. And I don't necessarily know if I like that or not. My last pick on the last series, by the way, I had Panthers in 5. I don't necessarily feel comfortable about it, but I will still stick. I'll stick with it because I take hard opinions and stick with them. So
there you go.
So I like that. Taylor, tell me a little bit about this guy. I don't know if you heard of him. Mika Zibanejad.
Greatest flow. I mean, he's probably got the best flow in the league, right?
True.
Yeah, he looked unstoppable in game 1, just absolutely ridiculous against a Carolina team that was humming, right? So, looked really good. I think they definitely neutralized him a little bit more in game 2, but I think he's going to be a problem for them, right? Who are you putting up against him from a center standpoint on Carolina, right? Are you going Kuznetsov or are you going Jordan Staal, right? And I think either way, there's definitely a big mismatch unless you go, line 1 versus line 1. So, I mean, he's a great player, and in this series, I agree. I think Carolina. I'd much rather be in this spot if I'm Carolina than I was being Dallas in round 1. Right. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be going into the away barn down 2. That sounds horrible. So,
sure.
And like Bobby said, they definitely play better at home. So you got the horn and shit, right? So,
now that they got it on the whiteboard in the locker room, like it's first game, they didn't know. Second game, they're like, okay, cover Mika Zibanejad.
Yeah, they missed that scouting report.
All right. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think they're in better shape too. Goaltending, in my opinion, has been kind of in favor of New York here a little bit.
Yeah.
Freddie has looked mostly solid. He's let in a couple that I'm sure he would wish he had back.
Sure.
But I'm not. I'm kind of with you guys. I'm not necessarily worried if I'm Carolina. I know you kind of should be because it's 0-2. But going back home, that barn is absolutely a riot. Like they'll get some home support there. God, but it is important you can't drop 3-0. So
No.
I think they'll come into it guns blazing. And in fact, if I was just betting on individual games, I'd probably put some money on Carolina to take the next one.
Yeah.
That feels right with me.
Yep.
I think I have Canes in 6.
Yeah,
Okay.
everyone was picking Canes, so I said, "Fuck it, I'll just go New York."
Okay.
I have technically, if I had made a big bracket, I had Carolina versus Dallas, but you know what? Let's have some fun. So
Sure.
I'll take the Rangers, and it was before the first game, guys. So don't call me a fucking cheater, but
I like that.
yeah, I'll take
I like
them
that a
in
lot. Bobby, you got?
I got Canes in 7. They're going to find a way. They're coming back.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
They're in it for the long haul.
Sure. All right, jumping on over. We got Dallas, Colorado. Colorado's already up 1-0 on the series after a 3-goal comeback, kind of stunning the Dallas Stars. Bobby, does that affect when you lose a lead like that? Does it affect does it carry over, or do you just wash it away?
In the playoffs, it's such a wash. It really
Okay.
is. You are so quickly on to the next one because it's like you cannot. It can't cost you later in the season, and you're not going to make the playoffs, right? Like you think about, we lost to New Jersey on a Tuesday in Newark in November,
Sure.
right? Like, it's not one of those things. You know exactly what you're getting, and you're like, okay, we have to find a way to win a game on the road now. That's all it really is. We have to go back and win a game on the road. So I think they're going to find a way to do that. To me, they're just too deep, man. Faxa coming in provides a little more on that fourth line. I love their D. Ettinger, is it Ettinger? Ottinger, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He has ways to steal games.
He's a stud.
Yeah, he's a stud. Power play. Wyatt Johnson's a stud, but the power play's got to get a little more. They weren't very threatening. Was the last game? Yeah, maybe they were just on the outside a little bit too much. This is that Florida game's turning into a bloodbath in the background, but I really do think that they're just too good for me, man. I'm sticking with them being the team to beat out there. So I'm saying Dallas in 7.
Okay, I like that. Taylor, so Colorado, Dallas storms out to a 3-0 lead. Obviously coming out like they're hot, like they played not too long ago. Colorado's been sitting for a little while after whooping Winnipeg. How do you see the series going in the next game?
I think, yeah, it's a good one. I think, if you're Dallas, you obviously want to see a jump, right? You want to see from Dallas that jump. I think you see Colorado, they either smell blood in the water, right? And they say, we're coming at you hard and putting it down. But I think more often than not, we kind of see that team that came out with that, I won't call it lucky. They definitely played into it, but I don't think you're going to dominate Dallas to 4 goals, unanswered goals like that again. So I think you see Dallas come out hot and Colorado kind of on their heels. I think that's more than likely what we see. But yeah, kudos to Colorado, because this is exactly what I was talking about with Florida and Boston, right? Dallas came out hot. They were the most recent team of the two to have played, and they just kind of carried that over, like Bobby was talking about a couple of episodes ago, right? I think it's going to be up to Dallas to not go down 0-2 again, right? Like you cannot do that and say, hey, we are one of the best teams in the league. But
sure,
Colorado's a very good team, but I think it definitely comes down to, Otter versus Gorgiev, right? Like what's that going to look like? And I think for me, Otter takes that every time. I think the thing I like about Dallas, you got the old guard, right? You got Suter and Pavelski. Mix that in with some of these young guys. And I think that's what Dallas has done very good with their drafts is, bringing in these kids that can start on a third line. And, all of a sudden Wyatt Johnson looks like he's the best center on that team, which is just insanity. So
crazy.
That's crazy.
Taylor, last question on this. Tell me why the woman that sits behind the coach on the Dallas bench with the large cans, why is she the most important aspect of this Dallas team?
Well, because sometimes, hockey games can turn into a bit of a slog, right? And you want to see a nice pair. And if the coach is yelling at the ref, right? It's a good little
Sure.
reprieve from
Sure.
hearing all those cuss words that no one likes to hear, right? So that's one of my favorites.
It's kind of like how like old soldiers, they have the photo in the helmet. Like this is who
Yeah, there you go.
this is who I'm fighting for.
There you go. Love it.
All right. It was so good. All right. I'm gonna take Dallas in 6 on this.
I like that pick. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Storming right back. I like it.
Yeah. I think that's they're gonna rebound. I mean, it's like losing a 3-goal lead sucks, but at the end of the day, the game ended in overtime 4-3. Like that's still a close game. Playoffs. I'm with you, Bobby. You can't. That shouldn't phase you. All right. Last series, arguably the most toxic. God, if this series was encapsulated by a meme, it's that like that chick from Glee saying like, I'm gonna make an environment so toxic. Like,
yes,
these two teams hate each other and their fans really hate each other. Like it's somebody might get hurt off the ice because of this series. The odds favorites here are Edmonton, unless you're in Vancouver, and then they are very, very, very adamant that everyone else is wrong.
Right.
I think I'll give my thoughts on this one real quick because it's succinct. You beat the Edmonton Oilers by shutting down Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and if you can do that, then you got a shot. In fact, you've got more than a shot, because as I've famously said before, I don't like the depth of this team. So if you can do it, you can. Obviously LA couldn't do it. We all thought that they couldn't, and they couldn't. I don't know if Vancouver can do it. I think whoever wins Dallas and Colorado can do it, but I don't think Vancouver's got it. I don't think they have the defensive weapons to be able to track those two guys and shut them down or stop Hyman. Maybe Tyler Myers, baseball swings at Hyman's head to take him to, maims him, scars him for life. But other than that, I just don't see it, man. Even if Demko or DeSmith is in.
Yeah, for me, it doesn't matter. And I'll just lead with my pick because it will encapsulate everything I'll say. It's Edmonton in 5 for me because they don't have anybody that can shut those guys down. Yep. Like none of them, nobody's big enough. Myers big enough, but nobody's fast enough. Nobody to me will take away time and space from those two guys. Like they just don't have the capability. I don't know what the records is. Like I might be up in the middle of the night in Italy just to watch this series because I think the offensive side of this series is going to be so much fun from between two teams. This Florida series in the background right now, another fight, another line brawl going on. It's a line brawl. Florida just made it 6-1, and everybody's going nuts. And even like Pasta's in it. There's 74 penalty minutes in the last minute and 20 seconds. So
holy shit!
There's going to be a.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah,
like that's just
it's almost like they're rematching from last year.
Exactly. So anyway, last thoughts on it. There's just no way to me that you're shutting down Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and I think it's going to be a masterclass in offense from the two of them. And let's not forget Zach Hyman had 50. So go hard on him or go hard on those two, and he'll just fly right under the radar and be just like he'll just have it happens because they'll throw pucks at him in front. So to me, it's going to be a quick series.
Yeah, okay. I think for me, right, I'm kind of looking at their last two opponents, right? Two of the weaker teams in the West. We all can agree on that. I think LA of Nashville and LA probably, on paper is the stronger team, right? I think they showed at the beginning of the season what kind of team that they could be. And Edmonton just kind of fucking dominated them, right? Like there was a game that I think they won 1-0 and LA had like 30 something shots. And it's like, where the fuck does Skinner come from? Right. And it's all of a sudden he's posting a shutout. It's just, I think, Vancouver, I think they'll get a couple, right? So I have Edmonton in 6 because I think, you try to find a way, right? There's going to be a game where you probably catch Stuart Skinner off guard, right? And I think they do have some firepower there in Pettersson and Miller and those kind of guys. But just in the long run, there's no way. I mean, I think Vancouver's D I definitely underestimated. But they played against, Philip Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Right. They didn't, and nothing against those two guys. I'm just, Connor McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman with 50 and, Henrique just moving it up into that top line like it's, like he's been there the whole time. Plus some solid D pairs on the back end. I think it's Edmonton series. I think six is me being conservative, right? Like I just, we'll see.
I think a fully healthy Vancouver team can steal two. If DeSmith was on his game or Demko. It sounds like Demko. I think the last update I saw that Demko, like the earliest he could be back is like game 4 of this series, and that's being pretty conservative. They're probably
70%.
rushing him,
right?
Yeah, probably rushing him back. And no word on DeSmith, so he must really be hurt. We'll see. I'm not. Silvos could be one of those. He's the. I always like to go back to the Chicago, like one of the early days of Chicago, where like everybody remembers Hue, and then like he was the guy, and then Niemi comes out of fucking nowhere and
Right.
like who the fuck is this guy, and then wins it. So like I mean there is the opportunity for Silvos to come in and kind of do that. I don't think he played bad in the Nashville series. I just like I said, it's. There's not much to analyze in this series because the game plan to beat Edmonton is simple.
Yeah,
you have to shut down those guys, and then if you can, then your depth will win the game because your depth will be better than Edmonton's depth, most likely. But you can't, and that like last thing on this, that Edmonton power play is frightening.
Cheat code.
Like it's not even fair.
No,
it's
like sick.
Bobby, have you seen? I mean, that's got to be like some of the top power plays that you've seen.
Oh, I can't remember anything like that. The London Knights back in 05. That's about it.
Okay. Yeah. Like it's like they're just. I mean, they don't even. How do you even defend something? I think they were talking to like Berube in like this in the off at ESPN. They're like asking him like, how do you defend against that? He's like, don't take penalties.
Yeah. Go to the box. That's about it. Good luck doing. Yeah. Good luck.
God damn. Yeah, that's special teams is just gonna kill, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I mean, I'm already kind of looking forward to the next series because I do think that Dallas or Colorado have the tools to be able to beat them. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited for it. This is gonna be a good series, and it's gonna be nasty.
Yep.
Even if it's in 5.
I love how much they hate each other, dude.
Oh
yeah.
Matthew Tkachuk and Pasternak are fighting right now.
Yes.
Oh yes, I need that.
Can Pasta throw?
No.
Just noodles. He just noodle arm.
I think they caught on to the camera late, but I think he got jumped a little bit. But who knows?
Yeah. Pasta responded in that last one. He got that OT winner. So
very true. Anyway,
but we'll see if he climbs back into it. All right, boys.
Well, it's a pleasure, boys. I'm off to Italy.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Have fun.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you after the next round, and I'll let you know if I'm watching any games.
Sounds good, Bobby. See ya.
Cheers, fellas.
Yep.
Yeah. So good shit.
Yep, absolutely. So I once again, thanks to Bobby. Awesome for coming on. There's so much to unpack with the playoffs because there's so much. There's always shit going on behind the scenes, it's hard not just to focus on the on ice stuff. But goddamn, man, I don't know if it's been good playoffs overall, right? Like if I had to give it a grade, it's like a B plus, right?
Yeah, I love the nasty, right? I don't, like we see the whiny side on Twitter and we see, we see that kind of shit, but Trouba's flying elbow. I know it didn't connect, but that
was nuts, right?
It crosses a couple marks on the fucking Dusty Bender.
Will you still call me Superman?
It's crazy, dude.
That was nuts.
Just crazy. That's so like, if I'm not a big guy, but I'm taking a chance and I'm dumping it in Trouba's fucking corner.
Yeah.
The next chance I get, and I'm fucking running that cocksucker. That's fucked up, dude.
Well,
that's not.
Who do you got though? Who do you got though? If you're Carolina, who do you send to go toe to toe with Trouba? Because he's not even their toughest guy.
That's the thing. They don't really have any big boys. I mean,
Burns
will throw you around, but Well, I mean, but he's not going to come from the other blue line,
No,
right? Like, you know,
old man Burns is not going to fucking do that.
no, he's not skating that hard down into the
D'Angelo,
zone.
you might have seen the clip. D'Angelo was threatening, was wanting to take on Keandre Miller.
I mean, even that's probably not going to work, right? And Keandre Miller is probably their third toughest guy, right?
Right.
Just,
yeah.
You know, and not saying that the Canes are getting bullied around, because, you know, the playoffs is a whole different beast, but that cannot go. You know, I'm not someone that was their intent to injure. Oh, fuck yeah. But it's 100%.
They asked Natchez, they're like, hey man, what do you think Truba was trying to do there? He's like, I don't know, elbow me in the head. Like,
yeah, like what does it look like? What do you think?
Kill me? Like, yeah, murder me?
He's trying to murder me. Like, Truba is actually trying to murder me. So if that connects, if that play connects and Truba doesn't get any games like Truba for some reason has been able to get, there should have been fucking riots in the street, because I think they should have even looked at it. There is full blown intent to injure. He just didn't connect, right? That's a very dangerous play, and it's honestly, you know, there's no respect there. That is a very disrespectful play by Truba in a series that, like, he doesn't. And we're fans. I don't know why he's doing that.
And we're fans of hard hitting playoff hockey,
right?
Like we're all about. Like, there was a call in that game, I think, earlier on against D'Angelo where, like, 2 minutes for hitting. Like,
right.
What the fuck did he do? And then even what was it? There was a Trocheck penalty where Trocheck just kind of fell. Fox recovered quicker than like a ghoul in Fallout. Like, he just went murdered down, and then like, oh, I'm good. Yeah. After like dying, like he looked like he died on the ice after getting tapped. So, and that brings up the whole embellishment discussion. There was an embellishment call in that game, I think. And in my personal opinion, refs should be calling it way more.
Yeah, it's been calling it way more. It's been
like,
getting a lot worse.
Don't encourage that shit. Like, I would rather the ref misread an embellishment call, and like everybody's sitting there like, he didn't embellish, he actually got knocked over. I would rather hear that than watch, like, because I mean, there's been a lot of really bad embellishments in this playoffs.
Yeah.
It's been noticeable.
It has, and it ruins the product, right? I mean, you know, but that's the thing, is exactly like you're saying. There's a reason, you know, and there's a reason I didn't bring this up while Bobby was on. Tim Schutzla is the professional diver, right? Yeah. Like, I think
Bobby would probably.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, so, but you know, that's the thing, is guys have been doing this since squirts, right? This is they're professional in this stuff, and there's honestly, you know, that is a stat that we look at, right? Penalties drawn, right? Drawn penalties. Yep. So, you know, if we're looking at pure stats, that definitely, you know, it goes onto that bucket. So
that got me on the Idaho State team.
Yeah, man. I mean,
just drawn penalties. Everybody was going after me and my fucking yellow helmet because I'm an idiot.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't be wearing a yellow helmet.
I know. I'm aware.
You're wearing white gloves and white skates too?
No.
All right, good. Fucking shit.
I had yellow laces though.
There you go. Everybody did. They had the wax on them, dude.
They did have the wax.
Yeah, it was the fucking that was the cool shit to do in the day.
God.
But yeah, the diving is ridiculous. You know, but that's the thing, is they know that it's difficult for the refs to call that, right? Like, yeah, you know, so I think to your point, and probably where you were going with this, is if it's questionable that it is a dive at any point, right? You see an extra arm flare out and shit like that, fuck yeah, call it, right? Like, you know, especially early in the game, call it, because then that's going to set that precedence. Yep. You know, I don't know if it's. Yeah. Well, that's the problem, dude. No one wants to do it anymore. And it's in chance it's only going to get worse. And I'm not going to agree with Torts here, because I love the flippy dippy shit. But, you know, these guys are soft. I mean, a lot of these guys that are coming out are just purely skill guys. And that's, you know, that they've been doing it their whole lives.
Torts earlier with Nashville. Who the fuck was I trying to say?
I think you were wanting to say the coach, Burnett, but.
No, I was thinking of the DM.
Yeah, it's Trotz.
Is it Trotz? Barry Trotz?
Yeah, it's Barry Trotz.
Okay. All right. I had it right. Yeah, no, I was talking about Trotz. Yeah. No, it's fuck. Because I even understand the difference between an embellishment and like selling it, if that makes any sense. Like, to me, embellishment, or like even a dive, you could even throw a third category in there, where like you did not get hit hard enough or even at all, and you are, like trying to make something that did not happen. There's a difference between like, oh, he hit me a little bit and I'm making it 10 times worse than it is,
and I
then
yard
like
sailed. Yeah.
right, and then absolutely like ragdolling on the fucking ice after he skated by you.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely different levels of that.
I just don't want it to become soccer. I just don't want it to become soccer because I mean, in soccer, penalty kicks are like they basically win games, and I just
it slows it down.
Right, and I just don't want hockey to become that. I know I don't necessarily like to take shots at soccer because I do appreciate soccer a lot more than like baseball, but it's true. Like that's the sport like you see the most like even when I'm scrolling through my feed or something like that. That's the sport where you see the most embellishments where everybody's like taking dives and falling and pretending they're hurt because the penalty in that sport is a penalty kick, which can basically end a game.
Yeah.
So I see that. Okay, cool. Overall, I like I said, entertainment value. I would say I've been fairly entertained. I've been watching. I wouldn't say it's my favorite playoffs, but it's been pretty good so far. We've had a lot of good storylines. We've had a lot of good hockey for the most part. Unfortunately, I think I invested my time in the wrong series to watch. I guess because you can't watch everything.
Right.
Like I put an emphasis on watching the Avs Winnipeg games because I thought that was going to be really good, and that it just wasn't good hockey. Like it sucked.
Yeah, Florida Tampa was that way for me. The first round was okay. Obviously, the Boston Toronto, anything goes to 7, you're going to like this series.
Yeah,
right?
that was a good series. Vegas and Dallas was a great series.
Great series, but of the 8 series, only 3 went to 6 games or more, which to me that's just there's only so much you can do there. But I would have loved to see a little more fight from some of these teams in the first round. It just felt like these matchups weren't that lopsided, but that's what we saw. I mean, we really saw,
maybe we've been spoiled. Maybe we have. Like maybe they're like in the past we've had 16 teams, like all 16 teams are decent, are good. Yeah. Like that, like it's because I remember going back, like, go back to the old 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, conference playoffs days. Like it was rare as rocking horse shit when an 8th seed or a 7th seed would take down a top seed. It was rare, very rare. So I'm not necessarily saying that, but I mean, you're right. Like sometimes we are used to seeing, I think we're just spoiled. Like last year we saw Florida go all the way and they barely leaked in. Like you've got even, that 8th seed is still competent. Whereas this year they haven't been. Like LA was bad. Like it turned out that they're bad. The Preds were happy to be there. But God, that series was, I also wanted to watch it. Like I wanted to like watching that series. So I did watch a couple of those games and God, I turned them all off. They were so terrible.
And it's tough, man. Sometimes 1-0 games are good games, but those were just not. So, and hopefully if you are a Vancouver Canucks fan, hopefully that doesn't carry over to the next series because they just, I mean, the goalie, you can hang your head on the goalie, but you lined up against probably one of the worst teams of the 16, right?
But Taylor, Vancouver swept the season series with Edmonton.
I don't even know how we're looking at that anymore.
That's a game, actually. Like, so if this is a new rule they put in for Vancouver fans. If you sweep a season series against a team and you meet them in the playoffs, you actually start a game up.
You automatically win?
No, you're up 1-0 in the series.
It's like home ice advantage.
Yeah, no, you already, it's 1-0, like already. Like the series, they haven't even played yet, and the series is 1-0 Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean, so, and what's funny is, one of those games was like the first game of the season, right? When Edmonton was shitty, So I mean, look, you can take that into account. I'm not completely discrediting that, but you can't just say we beat them during the season. We're going to beat them now.
Winnipeg swept the series against the Avs. Look how that turned out.
Exactly. So I do think, I'm a little more optimistic that Vancouver can put up. And I think I like Petey. And it's funny how quickly that fan base turned on Pete for having one fucking bad game. Like, yes, he didn't just bury the Nashville Predators. Like, I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
They also haven't played like any fucking playoff hockey, right? Like, you realistically are looking at this Vancouver team and just saying, like, this is essentially the first year this team has collectively made the fucking playoffs, right?
It is.
Like, they got to learn how to win in the fucking playoffs. Like, it won't surprise me if Edmonton just dummies them, right? Like, you got to learn how to do that. So, that's why I gave them a 6-game series, is because I think you're going to see a little more pushback from Vancouver. But
I'll give this. And normally I am the guy. We are the guys where we're like, depth beats star power more often than not. And in most cases, I would agree. Like, and I will even go as far as to say, I genuinely do think Vancouver is a deeper team than Edmonton. That being said, the star power on this Edmonton team is too good. Yeah. Like, it's rare. Like, we're in a team sport. We enjoy a team sport. This is hockey. It's you rarely. I mean, look at Connor McDavid. He hasn't won it yet because he's got to have at least somebody to pass the puck to.
Sure.
So there is that. But I just don't think it's the first step, right? Like, once you stop those two, then your depth can take over and beat the rest of the Edmonton Oilers.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do that first step. And I just don't. Who's going? You're going to put Elias Pettersson to shut down McDavid? That's not fucking happening.
No, that's not going to work.
That's not going to happen. JT Miller? That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going to send Kuzmenko out of him? That's not going to work.
I mean, I think the other thing, and it's a little bit, it's not necessarily something that completely matters, but I mean, we've seen it so far in the Rangers series a little bit. Edmonton has a little more nasty than Vancouver on top of it, right? Yep. So, Nurse can get in there and mix it up a little bit. Obviously, we know about Vander Kane, and they have a guy named Corey Perry, right? Like, sure. So it's just, to me, the Edmonton's just a better, well-rounded team. But getting to the second round in what is essentially this group in Vancouver's first time in the playoffs, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Tocchet behind the bench is pretty good. I know, it's Nashville. I think Nashville was tired getting into this cup playoffs anyways, but
mm-hmm.
So they're gonna have their work cut out for them. But I think even if they lose, it's a winning season.
Yeah, if I'm an amoral, like, soulless coach in the NHL who cares nothing about winning, which, I mean, it's the NHL, most coaches are. I'm literally pulling Tyler Myers to the side, like if you see McDavid fucking turn his back for a second, you just give him the lumber. Because that's all you can do. And Tyler Myers, he'll just he'll just grunt at you.
So Tabernacle, Shorzy.
I'm not. Yeah, just give him the lumber. Because I'm not sure that Tyler Myers can, like, read. So, but
he's like a Harvard guy.
Yeah, yes, right. I don't know. I just, but and I'm saying that not because I want that to happen by any means. What I'm saying is like, that's the level of effort that you're going to have to go to shut that guy. Like, they just can't do it normally. You're going to have to, like, Tyler Myers is going to have to get suspended for the rest of the series, taking down Connor McDavid to even have a shot, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think if it does get a little nasty and Vancouver ends up losing this series, I honestly think that's good for them. And, it bangs up Edmonton. If you're a Vancouver fan, you can be happy if, whichever way this goes, because it bangs up Edmonton against, what's clearly either Team A or Team B in the West in Dallas or Colorado. So,
we're past the
I think
point.
this will be a good series.
We're past the point of Vancouver like, say they even lose this. Like, we're past the point where management would look at this and go, "Oh, we've got to tear it down." Like, they're not. They got into they overperformed in the season much more than we thought they were going to. Did quite well, actually, for a regular season team, and won a round. There's absolutely no, like, even if they lose, they'll write it off as, "Oh yeah, we got Connor McDavid did." McDavid did? You got McDavid did. You got McDavid did. And we got McDavided, and that's it. That's just the way it goes. We'll try to get better in the offseason. and they'll do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just at two different points, right? So, and I do appreciate this about Canadian fan bases, right? If your team makes the playoffs, you're winning the fucking cup. It doesn't
Right.
matter if
Yep.
your team is completely outmatched and gets, is about to get swept for rip by, by any team. They're going all the way and they're winning 16 games to 0, right? Like it's just, you got to appreciate it for that fact. But definitely, yeah. I mean, that's gonna be a good series. I think this is gonna be one of my favorite
bloody
series to watch.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, Zadorov is not a little dude. Like he
No.
can grab two tiny guys and throw them around. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Headline on NHL.com: Cats more like it.
Badoom Tiss.
Nice little pun there. Barkov has 4 points for Panthers, who cruise to game 2 to even the series. 6-1. Yeah, that's a response game right there. Like that's
100%.
I mean, like without watching the game, you look at the game center, you look at the stats
Box
later
score,
on. Yeah, and the box score, and you go, oh yeah, Florida just got worked. Like, and I watched it. It wasn't as it's just Swayman made the saves where Bobrovsky didn't.
Bob didn't, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but in this one, I mean, even what Bobby was saying, it sounds like Florida just fucking manhandled them. So, I mean, if Swayman's getting pulled, then and then that brings up the fucking here we go now. The controversy. Do we? Yeah, just when we thought we figured this out, and we're like, oh yeah, Swayman just won us a series. He stood on his head against the Leafs. Played well in the first game too. But now he got 4 on him. So now we got to go to do we rotate again? Is Allmark playing? Here we go.
See, in my opinion, they did not overthink it in the Toronto series. So I would hate for them to overthink it again.
If you're going to entertain it, you do it the next game. You put Allmark. You put Allmark in the next game. There's no if it's basically shit or get off the pot. Like if you're going to start Swayman next game, you're starting him for the rest of the series, in my opinion.
Sure. Yep.
Whereas because it's too little, too late after that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas,
I mean, you go down 3-1. I think, you ride with Swayman and you go down 3-1. Maybe you do see Allmark, but
I think you ride the hot hand at this point. Like,
but we don't know where Allmark's at. Like, we don't know what his hand looks like. We don't know what the temperature is because we don't have a fucking gauge.
I mean, he played I think he played a game.
Yeah, I think he played 1 in game he played 2 in the Toronto.
That's right.
series,
3 and 4, 3 and 4, maybe 2 and 3, something like that.
2 and no, maybe he didn't. That's a good question. He did play 1. He played 1 for game 1 or 2. He played game 1 or 2, and then Boston went up into Toronto and won both games, right? So
yeah, with Swayman, I think.
Yeah, with Swayman in net. So
it was Swayman, Allmark, Swayman.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. You had 1 game. I don't think you need to overthink it. I mean, Swayman's been good up until this point. I think, 1 getting run out of the building, that was going to happen. Like, you're playing the Florida Panthers. You just embarrassed them in their own barn 2 nights ago. They're going to come back with a fucking vengeance.
Right.
And I think too many people look into the coincidences and I don't know, they too much, they galaxy brain this where if you want to decide if you're going to put the next goalie in, look at the game's tape, analyze each goal. Was this on the goalie or did we just play like shit?
Yep.
If the answer is the former, great, go with the other one. If you genuinely think the goalie played bad, go for it. But when you galaxy brain it and just go all right, yeah, I don't like how the team's playing in front of him. Even though he played well, we're going to switch it up. I don't like that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I don't like that. I know that's kind of like a coaching tactic where you change goalies to kind of shake things up a little bit. But I don't know, man. I just don't. Swayman's been too good. He hasn't had, other than tonight, he hasn't had a bad game. And I would have to watch the goals.
Yeah.
And
which we will.
From what Bobby said, I mean, what's Allmark's save percentage in this game? Because it sounds like they pulled him at 4 goals. So it sounds Allmark must have let in at least 2.
Yeah, but I mean, it depends where the team's mental is at, and the game's out of hand, and he's cold, and there's a lot of aspects to it. But I mean,
what do you think they do?
I think they look at it as Swayman played half the regular season games, and they're gonna say, hey, he's not used to playing fucking 5 in a row, right?
Allmark let in 2 goals on 10 shots.
Yeah, which you expect from a goalie kind of coming in, right?
Sure.
In essentially a blowout game at that point. So, I personally I am a big believer in, okay, this is the goalie that essentially got us to round 2, kicked the shit out of this team in game 1,
Yep.
and just had an off night, or the
I agree.
team played bad in front of him. So I'm more of a proprietor for it. Put him back in there, see what he does. If he blows it, then yes, I probably need to go to Allmark. But
Can I throw a goalie controversy at you that no one's talking about that maybe people should be talking about?
no, I don't want to hear it.
Oh, okay. All right. Never mind. That's all, folks. Thanks. Throwing in what's his face instead of Freddie Anderson.
Kochekov.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about that?
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. Kochekov. And we talked about this during the regular season. I actually like the attitude that he brings to that team.
Mhm.
I think he can go off the rails a little bit, right? Like he's Russian, dude, right? So he's got a little bit of a weird personality. But I think the team does play well around him. I think the time to do it would have been game 2, right? See what he can do in game 2 after they kind of got smacked up a bit in game 1. But no, I think they stick with Freddie, and then obviously if they go down 3-rip, and it's looking like Freddie is pretty leaky. Yeah, I think they do go to Kochekov and see what they can figure out.
Okay.
Freddie's probably just fucking tired, dude.
I think there's more to that discussion than there is the Allmark Swayman one. Like to me, Swayman has not played bad enough to start considering putting in Allmark. Whereas I could listen to an argument that Freddie has missed a few goals to where maybe it's worth putting in our other guy to just see, like, put him in for a game and see if it's the same shit, different day, then throw Freddie in, no big deal. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know where I stand on that, but at least I'm entertaining that more than I am the Swayman Allmark.
Yeah, I'm with you. We did a little bit of beer league coaching essentially, right?
Yeah.
But my mindset, especially with tendies, I'm talking with Freddie, right? I'm seeing where Freddie's at, because it could be that he's just fucking tired, man. Like he went through some shit with the blood clotting, and really kind of they kind of went back and forth throughout the season, and then
he's had a lot of acrobatic saves.
And yes, but had a relatively easy series against the Islanders, right? And this is a big bad team now that they're going up against. So
top heavy, high firepower.
Yeah, but I think they stick with Freddie. If they go down 3-rip, there's no doubt in my mind that they go to Kochekov. They got to figure something out. Okay. So yeah, I think
3-0 is frightening.
3-0. See what you have in Kochekov, right? I don't know what Freddie's contract looks like, but I think you gotta take a peek at the kid and see what you got. Sure. So
and if Carolina loses that, we can talk post-mortem if and when they get there. But man, if Carolina loses that, you got to start thinking that they're in the same boat as like the Leafs, where like, man, on paper we've got something, but we need to make a change, just to shake things up a bit. Yeah, because I don't even think it's Bobby was saying he wants to blow up the Leafs, and I don't necessarily want. I think there is something there. The problem is not necessarily the players; it's money. Like, I would love to have all of those players, but I want John Tavares for half his money, and I want Marner for 3/4 of the money that you're paying him. I want Riley for half the money I'm paying him. You know what I mean? Like,
but Johnny T's cap hit, I believe this next season is only at 7, dude. So it's not horrible for it, who's still technically a second line center. Like, I don't look at Johnny T in the way that he played in that matchup against the Bruins. I don't look at him. He's not the problem. He's playing like a second line center is supposed to, right? You'd love to see him a little faster. You'd love to see a little more from him, but you can't put that series on him.
No, you want more. Like, he's not the problem. In my book, he's a problem. He's not the problem. Like, your second line center, yes, I'm going to want more than 1 assist in a 7-game series.
Sure.
I don't like that. So, but to me, regular season, Johnny T's putting up, I think his stats this were 30 goals and 35 assists. Like, that's not nothing. That's not nothing.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong thing. His cap hit is 11.
Oh, yeah, then that's ridiculous. Like, I want
that's too much for him.
I want Johnny T on my team. I think he still has a lot to contribute, but I don't want him for 11. I want him for 6, 5.
Yeah. Based on time, I didn't go into it too deep because I knew we kind of had to skip through it. But
Sure.
In my opinion, with both Johnny T and Marner's last years of contracts being next year, I think you try out a coach, right? I think the coach, you see what you can do, and not saying that they're even going to make it past the first round again with that team. No. I think you're basically saying, look, it's going to be way too hard for us to move either of these two guys, especially to get a top 2 defenseman, essentially is what they want and need there. It's going to be way too difficult. So why not let those contracts just run out, test out a new coach, see if Berube or someone along those, Quenneville, see if Quenneville wants to come back and do it, see if they can get something else out of these guys.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, those two guys move on next year, right? Or you can move them at the deadline. So
this is under that only works though if nobody wants them. Like the logic here is like if somebody does want them, then you trade them while you can still get something instead of letting them walk to free agency and don't let Johnny. But yeah, you're right. But I think
nobody's going to take Johnny T's contract at $11 million. And if you can convince someone to take Marner right now after he just had a very unforgettable playoffs, you're not going to get much in return, right? So, it's pretty funny to see some of the Leafs fans.
That's why I like
it's gonna be way off.
Right. That's fair. That's why I like an idea of I understand logistics and things would have to kind of go right for everything, but like that's why I kind of like the idea of a Marner getting traded at the deadline next year. Mm-hmm. Because he's only got 1 year left. Like your cap hit's not going to be that big a deal. Like, when Stone goes on LTIR, send him to Vegas.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then it's not your problem anymore. And you can actually move around and you can try to make a push again. Because I mean, if they run it, that's the thing. If they run it back, they're probably going to make the playoffs again next year. Probably. Like I don't see much regression. Like if they do what they've done the last 4 years, which is keep the core 4, core 5, if you want to throw in one other guy, and just tinker with the outside, they're still a playoff team. They're
gonna be doing what they've done since this core has been together, and they're gonna be out early in the round. So
yeah, they'll meet Florida or Boston or something in the playoffs and get.
To me, I cannot believe Keefe has kept his job. There's no excuse at this point, dude. Like it's ridiculous. It blows my mind. There's Keefe defenders out there, and it's just like, come on, dude. Like at some point you got to be able to. As a good coach, you have to be able to get more out of your players and your lineup than your GM gave you, right? That's what makes a successful coach, in my opinion. So
let me hit you with the devil's advocate on that. I'm not saying that I agree with this. It's just like because you and I have sat here famously and talked about how like sometimes it's the team's problem. Like the players are just bad. You've got a fundamental issue with your roster, but you can't do anything about it. So who takes the blame? It's the coach. And I can't get rid of my players, so I'll just fire the coach and we'll see if that works. And I think you and I have talked about it before. That's kind of lazy. Like you don't have the balls to actually make roster moves and shake things up and move money around. Instead, you're going to just fire the coach and hope that works. And you know what? To their credit, sometimes it does. It worked in Edmonton. I get it. But other times, not so much. So maybe Toronto's belief here is like, we don't want to be one of those teams that, tries it for 2-3 years, doesn't like the results, and then we move on to the next one. We actually want to like give the guy some runway to like develop and bring it here. I don't necessarily believe that, but
isn't this enough runway? How much runway does this fucking guy need?
That's a good point. It's a great point.
Come on, man. I mean, realistically, yes, they had holes in net. Joseph Woll in games 5 and 6 played like a fucking starter.
Woll was great. And even in that game 7, I really don't understand the hate that Samsonov is getting early games. Sure. I don't understand the hate that Samsonov's getting for Game 7. Like,
Yeah.
that the goal that he let in above his right shoulder, like that was a crazy ass shot through traffic that no one saw. Like, I understand that maybe he needs to like stand up or something. I don't know. It's goalies get that picked all the time. It was, I'm not going to say a weird bounce, but like it just threaded the needle through traffic, and it was a really good shot going above his shoulder just to hit that little corner spot. He stopped everything else. And then the overtime goal, fuck. Like, how could you get a more perfect pass to Pasta?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting seeing Boston fans bring up, like, this isn't the first time that they've done this in TD Garden.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's a set play for those guys. They know how those boards bounce out, right? It's crazy.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not necessarily harping too much on the goalies. I think, maybe Joseph Woll is something, but you're right. Like, I think Bobby's right in the sense of like, that's actuality. I know I can sit here and say, like, I would love this team. Like, think about it. If you keep this team, but they're playing for what they're actually worth. So like, say you're paying Johnny T 5-6 mil for his production. You're paying, what is Riley getting, 10?
That's a good question. I think he's just under 10. I don't think he's quite hit 10.
Okay.
Or else he would have been beefed in with the top 4, right?
Maybe,
there's 40 million fucking whatever.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's like 40% of the cap is under.
He's 7.5.
Okay. That's
fine.
I think he's probably, he's fine. He's probably worth a little less than that, but fine. But you get Tavares for half of what he's worth. And then Marner, he's not playing for, what is that, 11? Might misremembering that?
Well, I think he's right at 10.
Okay. He's playing like regular season, I guess
he's worth 10 mil. And last year in the postseason, if we're looking strictly at points, he was a point per game player. So, I mean, we're so focused on the moment, right? Toronto just has to find someone to fucking pick on, and it's Mitch Marner this year. So,
but as you said, it's a Canadian market. Like, it's cup or bust. Like, if you can't do well in the playoffs, you're dead to me.
I mean, and that's totally fair. But at the same time, that's how they built this team, right? You can't just say, well, let's go back 3 years and restructure our fucking, like, it just doesn't happen. People thinking that, Johnny T is going to restructure this year. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like it's just not the way it works in the NHL, man.
Like, we're not sitting here, criticize. Like, I one name that, because we're really loving Wyatt in Dallas right now.
Yeah.
But because he's covering it, like, we're loving him and Stankoven, and like Ben's getting in. Like, you're getting play from these good guys, so we're focusing on the positives. Where the fuck's Robo?
Yeah. And Robo, this isn't the first time Robo has gone missing in the playoffs, right?
Disappears, but they're winning.
Right.
But they're winning. Like, if Dallas loses, like, I think people should, or who's been being kicked right now is Rupe Hintz.
Yeah.
And it's like, Rupe Hintz is secondary scoring. Like, should he be playing better? Yes. But if Rupe Hintz only has 1 assist and is -4 in 8 games, like, that is concerning. But I'm more worried about why the fuck isn't Robo running these games right now?
Are they on the same line? Is it Hintz and Robo?
Maybe.
I'm pulling it up right now. Let me see.
Okay.
Stankoven, Robo, and Hintz. That, to me, so
what's Robo at right now?
I don't.
Does it tell you his stats?
No, it doesn't tell me his stats. But just from the outside looking in, right? Like, trying to diagnose something that I know nothing about. That, to me, if your top 2 guys in Hintz and Robo, and I mean Stankoven's playing okay.
Yeah.
If those guys are struggling here in the playoffs,
Robo's 3-3.
Robo's
3-3.
Yeah, that's not even that bad.
He's -6, but he's.
I mean, it's that's not ideal, but
no,
you can put 1 skate on the ice and you're getting a minus.
6 points in 8 games and he's -6. So I mean, that's not good. Heiskanen is -7. Oof.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had a couple of those games, but that's my point, right? Like, you're not going to mess with the Wyatt Johnson, Jamie Benn, Pavelski line because they're playing good hockey, but You know, why not break that top line up? See if you can shake Hintz out of his funk, right? Move Matt Duchene up there.
Yep.
You know, find a combination that's gonna and to their defense, they didn't need to in the first period of the game against Colorado, right? So yeah, no, I love that team's I think a very successful playoff team mixes that old guard with the young guys, you know.
Yep.
I think Dallas has done that really well. You know, it'll be interesting to see if they can come back and tie that series up, because I think they have a good recipe, man.
If you had to guess who the top time on ice per game played is for the Dallas Stars, who would you guess? This one might surprise you.
It's usually D, so I'm gonna go Harley or Heiskanen.
Harley is correct.
Yeah.
Harley is correct. 24-15 averaging.
Yeah, but he's very. It's crazy because he's pretty young, but he's very good two-way. So
followed by Lindell at 23-48 and Tanev at 23-30.
Yeah, I mean Harley on the second power play unit. I'm sure he's first penalty kill, right? Like the kid is very good two-way defenseman. So.
I lied. I apologize. It's Heiskanen.
Okay. I had it right either way.
Heiskanen's at 27-45.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's fucking nuts. Wyatt Johnson is skating 20 minutes.
Yeah, the kid looks good, but that's the thing, right? Like, you know, that's why I like that combination of old and young. He can put the spark in there, right? He's the spark plug, and I love that.
I can't believe that we're sitting here saying, like, complimenting a coach for playing a kid who is playing well and it has a hot hand. Like, if this was Mike Babcock, Wyatt Johnson would be getting 8 minutes a night because he hasn't earned his fucking bones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just blows me away that old mentality. Like, Pete DeBoer is going to be, you know, like, oh man, he's just coaching the hell out of this team by playing the guy who's just fucking feeling it. What a crazy concept.
Yeah, no, it's the right way to do it.
I was thinking we should roll Sagan out more. What do you mean? What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Put him up there with Robo and Hintz. See what you can do.
Throw out the old Jamie Benn, Tyler Sagan, and Joe Pavelski line.
Hell yeah! On the fourth.
Call it
21 minutes each.
That's right. Call it the Walker line.
There you go.
Jesus. All right. You got anything else?
No. God, I hope all these games go to 7. Here's to it.
Me too. I'm hoping for. Like we said, I don't think the first round was bad. It's not some of the best hockey that we've watched yet, but it's certainly not the worst. Edmonton's up 1-0 as we do this with 6:41 in the first. Not the most exciting. Especially it's kind of boring when all of the gambling favorites win. But sometimes that's going to happen, and not hockey doesn't always have the parity that we like to think it does. Sometimes the better team just wins.
Sure.
All right. Got anything else?
Nope.
Cool. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. Continue to watch some playoff hockey. Putting some more stuff up on YouTube. Check us out on there. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the podcatchers. We're on all of them. Follow us on Twitter. Posting some stuff there all the time. And having a good time. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.